Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Horseshoe Lounge.
Hey, you look different.
Roosters out on Olentangy River Road. That's Nicole Cox, Bobby Carpenter, Justin Zwick. I'm Jeremy Birmingham. Austin Ward is taking the day off.
You're less bearded than Austin.
Yeah, I apologize.
And you have pants on.
All right, fine, I'll leave. Yeah, and I'm wearing pants. So, as I mentioned, Austin is a little under the weather, so we're filling in today with me here instead of here. Bill will be here instead of there later, and that's the way it goes. It's spring game week. Here's my first question for you guys. On Friday, Ohio State
got Aaron Nolan
allowed us. Well, that was Saturday. Allowed us to watch some practice, a last-minute practice invite, and when we did snap judgments afterwards, myself and Austin and Bill were all kind of like, "Hey, this team didn't look particularly crisp today, right?" We were like, "They did not look great."
That's the last Friday before.
Last Friday before.
Yeah, but that's not the first time I've heard that they haven't looked great in a practice. The Monday after the scrimmage was Tuesday. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, you'll have that. But
so as guys who went through spring ball, how hard is it to stay focused the entire spring? And as you get into this last week, is it more like, thank God this is almost over, or I can't believe this is almost over?
With the weather right now the way it is, it's thank God this is almost over.
Yeah, I can't believe. Whoever says I can't believe it's almost over.
I don't know. Some people like doing their job, right?
Job. I mean, I don't know these guys. I mean, you make it NIL, but they're not employees of Ohio State yet.
What?
I mean, they're getting compensated by Ohio State. So.
Nicole comes to work every day with a smile on her face. Is there every day when you say to yourself, "Oh, I can't wait till this is over"?
No.
See? She gets it. Standard's the standard. But the question is, at what point does spring ball start becoming a pain in the ass and stop being like, I'm happy that we're here?
Laborious?
Yes.
Laborious? I would say you're probably there. And I thought Friday's practice, I didn't think it was like bad. I mean, they had some issues here and there. But I thought it was pretty productive for the most part. It was not like the Tuesday before was not. That Tuesday after the scrimmage was not that great. This Friday, it looked like some guys that, hey, we're beat up even more than normal now. Like Steele's out, Xavier's out. With the Friday before Easter and going into the last weekend, by the way, it's going to be nice this weekend. It's going to start to be warm. I know guys are getting out, going home. And so it seemed like the
oval is popping.
Yeah, it seemed like that. Well, this today, I mean, they practice in the morning, though, so you could really get some nice work in. Probably have to skip class to do it.
Take the old ball down to the oval.
You have to pick your priorities.
Throw it around a little bit in the afternoon.
Not that these kids are on campus going to class.
Which is what's even better. It's all online.
It's all online.
Let's go on the line from the oval.
From the oval.
From in or out or in, rather. I just feel like it's probably getting to that point where they're beat up. A lot of the young guys are still like really hungry for it. Not that the older guys aren't. It's just you're getting a lot of young dudes in there, so you're going to have maybe some more mistakes. And I don't know if that's like, I would say it's like failure of execution. It's just guys learning and continuing to grow and develop. But I thought the energy and the tempo were pretty good.
Yeah, I think any time for spring ball, the older guys are like, all right, yeah, this is almost over. We're almost through our, maybe it's my last spring or, whatever, or I'm not practicing because I'm rehabbing. They're ready for it to be done. These young guys, and there's a ton of them who need to get this execution or need to get this practice, need to, start learning things more, kind of like what Bob was saying. There might be mistakes, but yeah, these guys are young. They're trying to figure it out. So this is still huge. I mean, even though it's 1 week left, young guys still, I mean, they're getting their reps. They need to be in there. They need to be showing these coaches, hey, this is what I look like in spring. I'm going to show up in camp, and then I'm going to really prove to you that you can trust me to put me on the field. So, I mean, it's still a big, yes, there's a light at the end of the tunnel for these guys, with the spring game being Saturday, but it's still a big time for some of these young guys to step up and show, their coaches that they can trust them and that they're learning and they're learning how to practice like a Buckeye and, like all that stuff as young dudes, that you can accomplish this week.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, I think in when you're in this much of a scenario where there's that much competition for a position, I feel like you always have to show up. With your best, because the coaches are always watching. I feel like that's what we're taught as kids. If we want to be the best, you just always have to,
be the best. You got to be the best.
Your film's your resume, and I always tell, don't put bad film out there. I don't care what it is, whether it's a game, scrimmage,
if it's a Tuesday after a scrimmage or whatever.
You don't want bad film out there because someone will look at that and that may be their lasting impression of you. And so I just think I look at it from the linebacker perspective. You have Cody Simon now and C.J. Hicks out there. And Cody, played a good amount last year.
And the year before, he was a starter.
And he played a lot. And then you have you have CJ, who's young, who's learning and doing some good stuff. But there's just some young guys. Every young guy, this isn't a knock, like unless they're abnormal if this isn't the case. But consistency is generally the biggest issue.
Yeah.
I know you can make plays. How bad is your worst? I mean, when you're supposed to hear, you're there, you're kind of close. And so I feel like, those things are kind of happening a little bit. I know who had a great day, though. He doesn't even mention this. He just downplays it so much. Bill's over there just salivating, waiting for me to say this, too. It's his guy, Cam Martinez.
I get yelled at.
This guy, Cam Martinez.
I figured that was going to come up at some point today.
Commenters don't want to hear about Cam, so I just back off and let other people bring him up.
Gave up that touchdown against Michigan. He's had a couple interceptions this spring. He's looked good.
But how do you then turn the switch from, okay, we're hitting that wall that we're feeling complacent to now the spring game is here? Does the plan? Well, I don't mean
amphetamines, like things to pick me ups.
Yeah, but I'm talking metaphysical amphetamines. Okay, like you have the spring game coming up, you have the opportunity to play in front of 75,000, 80,000 people on Saturday,
maybe 100.
I mean, it's going to be a beautiful day outside. People, it's $7 to go. There's free parking. If you're
they sell beers during the spring game.
They do.
Oh,
if you're in Columbus,
is the Roosters store going to be in there? What?
I know, not for spring game.
Why not?
Because we already have an event that day.
What are you doing?
Well,
she's going to Nashville.
She's not going. Yeah,
time to reprise your role.
But people, and after the spring game this year, there's the concert with North to Nashville.
You guys will be at that.
Saddle up at the Woody Hayes.
That's everybody. That is a bucket list event. When was the last time you were able to party?
I don't think our food truck is there.
I don't think I've ever heard of
it.
I need to look.
Hold on, you just pitched that.
That could be a huge.
No, I just meant people need to go because it's something
the
fun.
food truck, though, because what am I supposed to eat when I'm leaving?
I bet for the amount of scratch that it costs to get a table at that place, there's probably something.
We have
yeah,
weddings.
but I went to Roosters.
They're going to open up the
I don't
cafeteria.
care about people getting married.
Maybe they'll
this
feed
is
you up
Ryan Day and the Buckeyes.
Maybe they'll feed you
I
married
agree.
in the
We
players'
would have
lounge.
100% been there.
They'll feed you upstairs in the player lounge. Make you a quesadilla.
I think
Bob will be up there making his own meal. Everybody's going to be at the concert. Where'd Bob go? Oh, he's up in the kitchen.
Hey, $100 to get in. North to Nashville.
Former Ohio State offensive lineman Devin Blankenship.
They're going to have Justin Zwick.
I'll be slinging drinks.
I got to talk to Chris Lacey. I told her, I texted him, or Courtney maybe did for me. Like, I was like, I'll go help. I mean, I'm going to be there. Might as well do something. And the closer I can be to the libations, the better it is. Whether I
want to be in charge of that.
Yeah, if I'm
so I know where it is. Yes.
Servant leadership. I'm going to show you how to do it, and then I'm also going to help you do it. All right? That's what we're all about.
But how
raising money for the Buckeye Cruise charities.
So after the spring game, we know players will be there, of course, celebrating in the Woody, and which is again,
I don't know if I'd want to celebrate in the Woody.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. They never leave there, so
I know.
That's probably where they're going to be. But how do you get from Monday to Saturday to change your mindset to get excited for the spring game?
Because you're going to walk outside and there's people there.
Yeah.
Like even the coaching clinic, like there'll be all your coaches and stuff and guys around this week. So you'll have some crisp practices. They'll probably start to dial off the physical intensity, but you're not.
Once Saturday comes, you're walking out in the stadium. You're going to have 70 to 100,000 people.
No one wants to take a lap for having a pre-snap penalty or fumbling
in front of everybody,
in front of your coaches, because your high school coach is going to yell at you way more than your position coach is going to, because you just embarrassed me.
Yeah.
in your hometown.
I told you when you went to Columbus not to embarrass us, and you're down here jumping the count.
Can't go home anymore.
Fumble the ball, jumping the count. This is what you represent. This is the representation.
I got video of you practicing. It was you running around the field. It wasn't practice.
They're never going to offer another kid from our school again.
I told them you wouldn't jump off sides.
So that'll help amp it up.
Yeah.
What was your favorite spring game experience at Ohio State?
Probably my senior year when it was like 30 degrees and rainy.
Yeah. I remember that.
We got booed that
It was
day.
Terribly rainy. It was awful.
The most miserable.
The fact that 40,000 people showed up at the start was honestly ridiculous.
That was so terrible.
It was, and then I got mad. Like the one time.
What?
You?
Get out.
Because the standard's the standard.
Seriously, the year before, I would have been more than obliged to sit out a decent chunk of the spring and like not have to do a ton. But then that year, he's like, hey, it's 30 degrees. You guys get all warmed up and then play like one series. I'm like, no, it's cold. Now I'd rather do that than just stand here and freeze. You got me out here dressed up.
Yeah, let me go back.
I'm going back in the stinking game. I'm not standing here. Either let me leave or let me play. I'm not
or let me have a coat because it's cold out here and they wouldn't do that. No, not
We were packing our gear for the spring game.
Exactly.
So that was the thing, and but it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's probably my favorite spring game memory comes not even when I was playing. It was when I was playing in the NFL, and when Schlegs was back as the honorary coach, and they broke the teams up. It was probably like 7, 8, 9 or so. It was before he was coaching here. And he wore a sweater vest
with nothing under it.
With just the sweater vest. And it was like a nice, beautiful day. And he had the best straight up. It was like tan. It was I called it the Neapolitan arm. It was tan, straight red, and then like white white like right up here. And then he had the sweet V-neck, like burned line. It looked so fantastic.
As you look back on those days, I mean, there was always, we used to joke about it in the internet community that there was like the Bam Childress Spring Game Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Because
that was 04. That was my year. I had like 3 touchdowns.
Every year there was
guy.
There was one guy that sort of like popped, and you're like, oh, maybe this is the year that guy's gonna become a real weapon in the offense.
Mm-hmm.
This year, I think we've already Bill the other day at practice, I think mentioned that he thinks that'll be Jelani Thurman this year, like who would just get
his name.
Who will get like 15 balls thrown his way.
Because he's going to be playing a lot.
And they like to do things in spring games. I'll never forget when I was being recruited. I came to the spring game. And it was Tress's first spring, I think.
Is that the Crew Stadium?
Crew Stadium, and they threw the ball. They threw the ball 1,000 times that day. Yeah. Shotgun, let's spread it out.
It's a nice day that day.
It was a beautiful day, yeah. But so they will do some things, and I was thinking about this earlier, just with the tight end you're talking about. Are they going to put some packages in there where everybody's going to be like, oh, we're going to use the tight end a ton this year. It's going to be great. Look how athletic and this and that. I mean, it will happen.
Here becomes the reality. When you start talking about like these elite spring game players, I always say the success you have is relative to your competition. And so like Jack Sawyer, you joked
4 sacks 2 years ago.
And I looked at that, I'm like, and Jack is going to be a good player. However, when you're going against turnstiles, it's easy to get a lot of sacks. I'm like, don't expect this. I mean, it's unfair expectations. Like, bam, he was going against the secondaries that were just wildly depleted. You had ice. Your man,
we legit split everybody up back then.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't
a draft. It was a lot of fun.
It was a draft, but it was like.
I say this for this spring game, like the defensive line, especially when the starters are in there, they're going to get a lot of pressure. It's just going to happen. And even when like guys who are capable, like Jackson, like when he's in there and it's the second-ish group, I mean, he's going to get a lot of pressure. Not that he's not going to be a good player. He may have 4 or 5 sacks, and you look at Jelani Thurman. Why is he a good pick? Number 1, because he's really athletic and he's had a good spring. Number 2, because
he's the third-string tight end.
He's the third-string tight end. They're not going to keep Cade out there a lot. They'll get Royer a lot of action, but they've got to at least have 2 guys. Oh, and by the way, they don't have any receivers. Yeah. Like, they don't have any receivers of note. They're not going to play Marvin and maybe like 5 plays.
I hope they don't.
Julian and Mecca are hurt.
I think they should let Marvin call plays.
Xavier just went down. I mean, it's like outside. You know who else I would say? Ballard will have a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Because if
the quarterback's going to have time.
Well, if you can throw the ball down.
That's the other element. Like, he might be like this on the other side. And it's like, holy smokes. They had this.
Those were the worst days.
Yes.
Getting your butt kicked behind the offensive line.
Whoever it is, and if they rotate Kyle and Devin, whoever's behind the second, I mean, it's like back foot, go.
Right, it's night and day.
Hit, back foot, go. Like, hit, back foot.
And that's so hard. That's so hard to do when you're in a quarterback competition, too, because you know it. But if it doesn't happen, you're still there because I've done this 5 times, and 4 out of the 5 I've had somebody. So that 5th time you're on edge and trying to get rid of the ball. So it's really hard to do for these young guys. But yeah, they'll make it work.
Nicole, will you be at the spring game?
I'm going to be out of town. It's a terrible week to be out of town. It's for my husband's job, but I have to be out. Okay. I know.
I miss the days of the spring game draft, like where they would.
That was great.
Where
it would be fun.
You guys would get together.
Was in there drafting his senior year. Were you there for that draft?
I wasn't there. I mean, I was watching.
No, but I thought they had I thought they let the media in one year.
That was before my time on the beat.
I thought so. There was an unbelievable story because we used to open up position groups, and so a lot of the strategy was. Tress, when you'd say, okay, we want to open up wide receivers, you'd have to draft all the receivers until they were gone. So the best thing that you would ever do is like, let me find what our team has, and number 2, how much they're going to let these guys play. Because I'm going to take Marvin, number 1.
There's
perfect.
Snap.
One snap.
There, get out of there.
Which is 1 snap too many.
But you take I always say, it's not how good the player is, it's how good the second player is below them. So if you can get a guy and there's like a pretty significant drop due to maybe just talent or the fact that who should be in that gap is injured and not playing, I'm taking him. And Alex Boone and Jimmy Cordell came in together. Jimmy got redshirted, and Alex was pretty juiced up, figuratively and literally, for that spring draft.
at all
And
times.
Daryl
This senior
Hazel,
year.
Legendary.
It was legendary. I think because James would have been that group too.
Yeah.
I forget. I think James was on his team, and they were trying to take someone, and he goes, "No, we're taking Cordell first." And like Daryl Hazel, like, you pushed him out of the way at the podium. It's like center Cordell, and like took the magnet off the board. And like, first of all, he's the center. Second of all, he's probably going to play like half a quarter.
Yes, yeah.
And so then you just wasted your first round draft pick on a center who's not going to play.
Oh my god.
So let's draft our own.
Ooh.
I miss it. So let's just do it. Understanding that there's going to be some key guys not playing. Travion Henderson will not play. Marvin Harrison will not play. Emeka Ibuka will not play. Julian Fleming will not play.
Basically, all the skill dudes that
So,
you came to.
Has Evan
know.
Pryor been full go?
Nope.
No,
Yeah, I didn't
He will
think
not
so.
play.
Mayan. Is
So
Mayan?
Mayan has been a
Mayan's-
little bit.
If,
He's been in yellow jersey.
That's
So
what I'm saying. It's
You
down.
got Chip and Down.
Chip and
and
Down
Chip.
will be on different
Chip and Dale.
squads, I'd assume,
Chip and Dale.
if they do it that way. We still don't even know the format of the game.
I think they're going to do offense, defense. Like I don't think they literally have enough guys at certain positions to be like
To
we're gonna
do like
split.
Yeah, there's 32 players on
I
defense
think that's how it should be anyways. I don't,
before injuries, so
Yeah.
not exactly. But Nicole, let's start with you. Running back, you've got Dallin Hayden and Chip Trainham.
Chip.
I'm gonna choose Chip.
I like, but why is she choosing Chip?
Because he had a 70-yard run the other day.
he did have a big run the other day.
Nope, it's because I've
Yeah,
heard
tough.
his name less.
He
And
had
I
a
pick the underdog
Ooh.
and believe in him.
Going the underdog in the spring game is a
Chip
wise
is
move.
a pretty tough guy to tackle.
That's
Here-
what I've
Here's
heard.
the only thing though.
Justin's at Roosters and he's hearing Chips. He's like Chips.
Chips.
I'm working on that Wednesday. We have a menu meeting.
I'm
Oh, come
curious.
on, baby.
I feel like they would pull Chip before Dallin. That's the only thing. I think they would let. I think they'll let Dallin play more.
I don't think either running back's going to be touching the ball much at all anyway. So I don't.
Well, the kid from Powell got a bunch of
Yeah.
carries on Friday, was it?
Yeah, because they got to get.
Because
Like,
they need. Well, they don't have enough.
They
have enough
they
guys
have a couple of
practicing.
young running backs, the preferred walk-ons and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Those guys will get some carries. The Saunders family continues to be all over the roster. Those Caden will get some, and
oh, is that CJ's brother?
Yeah.
I had no idea of that.
Cedric's children.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you have these opportunities to get snaps and get reps. We talked all spring about how important it was for the class of 2022 wide receivers to get a lot of reps and some opportunity on
Yep.
Saturday.
They'll get that.
Caleb Brown, Kojo Antwi, Keon Grays.
Keon had some nice plays.
How do you break these guys up? I mean, what's fair, I guess, is the question. How do you get an accurate gauge of what these guys are doing when they're out there with the backup or third team offensive line and they don't really get a chance to actually run routes or catch
I don't
balls?
know how they're gonna.
That's why I like keeping the teams together, keeping your offense together. So you at least have, say you're running with the twos, that's fine. We've been running with the twos. We at least know, because like back when we did, it was, all right, we're taking this.
Yeah.
We're just putting an offensive line together. They haven't played with each other, in that kind of scenario. So I like keeping them 1 and 2 and 3.
And then you put guys like up against Will Smith and hope that.
Well,
they don't get
yeah,
hurt.
it's just, I mean,
Terrible.
it was terrible. And we got hit back in those days. So
I would
that
be
was
game
fun
for
as
that.
well.
I'd be game for livening them up a little bit. Maybe do a series of live.
I don't think you do that.
That's one way to go.
Why? You got 2 of them.
If that's my problem.
You do
You
have
only
two.
have 2.
You got a pair, and then you'll have your spare
A pair and a spare.
when.
Well, the kid transferred in. We got a spare. He's like a coach.
Yeah.
Sure, Tristan Jebby is there. He'll take a lot of reps, I imagine. Probably not. Just kidding. The quarterback reps will pretty much be split, I'd imagine, between Kyle McCord and Devin Brown. Nicole, let's start with you. What makes a successful day on Saturday for these quarterbacks?
Ooh. I don't know, guys. I don't know how to. I think for them just to be on their game, not to mentally overthink it, and just go out there and play and take it in and take in the experience. Take in the experience of all the people being in the stadium, because they haven't gotten the reps in front of a whole stadium full of people. And I think just paying attention to all of that. I also think too, it's not like we were talking earlier. I think there are players that are really going to stand out, but it's not necessarily a true scenario,
Right.
because they're playing against the twos, like you said. So
2s, 3s, 4s playing.
Yeah,
Good, what
whatever.
about good on good?
I mean, you have to do some of that, right? How much good on good do you do? And Justin, for your perspective as a quarterback, like, how do you go into this and not immediately shut down when you're with the backup offensive lineman and you're getting yourself run all over the place and you're getting tagged? You know, obviously you're not getting hit, so that's good. You're getting two-hand tapped, though, you know, within 2 seconds in some occasions. Yeah. How do you balance out like,
really
your performance
hard. I mean,
without getting crazy?
Well, yeah, it's really hard to do because you know when you're in a competition, you only have so many reps. I mean, they're trying to split it 50-50 as much as they can. So it's like, you know, all right, I got this one play, and like, ooh, maybe you really like that play, and you know exactly what you got to do. But then all of a sudden, by my 5th step, I'm being tackled or tapped by somebody. You know, so I mean, it's a really hard thing to deal with because then you want to get down on yourself, like, wow, you know, that was my 1 rep to show what I had to do or what I could do, so it's hard.
Yeah, the quarterbacks are getting a whole different definition of 3-step drop. It's more like 3 steps
that's
and you're getting
so,
dropped.
So I'm thinking more along the lines of, all right, how are these guys going to look? And offensive play calling is going to have a lot to do with this, but knowing, like, all right, we can't block this guy and run a 5-step or 7-step drop. Let's do some quick game stuff. Let's make sure, you know, how are these quarterbacks going to handle that? Can they say, hey, you know, do they know I have a blitzer coming? I got to replace that. I got to get rid of the ball quick. You know, can they handle the offense that type of way? I think if you were to see somebody kind of handle it better or look better there, maybe you feel they have a better understanding of what's going on, or they would be able to do that more once the season hits. But it's just so hard. I mean, I've been through it. It's tough because you got to be perfect. You want to be perfect with the small amount of reps that you're getting, and then when you just can't be, it's a really hard thing to go through. So
How hard was it for you guys to dial it back and not hit people when you?
Sometimes you hit them anyway.
Yes,
it's an accident. It happens.
No, it was an accident.
I mean, what are they going to do? Take you out of the game?
That was what you wanted all along.
Exactly. So either play me or not. I mean, yeah. I mean, dialing it back. Like the thing is, they do thud. I mean, everybody was live before outside of the quarterbacks a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So you'd be tackling other people. I mean, and plus, like, be in the D line in front of you might not be as great. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. The thing is, it stinks for linebackers because it just becomes a passing clinic, and you're not allowed to blitz. Yeah. Like, I doubt there'll be
I'm sure they won't. Yeah.
Very minimal blitzing. And if it is, they may have like 1 or 2 very basic things. Because when your offensive line's depleted, they have a hard enough time when they know who to block
figuring out,
and blocking those guys, let alone if you're adding guys into the rush, it just makes it hard. And so the goal of the spring game for the coaches is always like, we want to see what these guys are capable of doing. We don't want to confuse them. And we want to give them basic calls, limited stuff. Can we get lined up? And can we go run and execute what we're doing? And if they can do that, okay, we'll learn on the rest. We'll try to figure out the rest of the stuff. But that usually is the goal. And then supplemented by, does everyone walk off the field on their own power at the end of the game?
Healthy.
And that's the big question because there's not a lot of guys going into the game healthy.
Not a lot of guys left.
So the real important thing for those guys is to make sure that they're healthy enough to get to Roosters on Tuesday for
mini corn dogs.
For mini corn dogs, yes.
For Threes Day.
Everybody's fave.
Threes Day.
$3 appetizers.
Mini corn dogs.
Mini corn dogs.
What are you guys doing here for
Get
the
the brown
game?
mustard.
Anything special in the
Just
building?
normal, no, but it's still great. I mean, it's actually kind of the
Stop
perfect
by
scenario.
afterwards, yeah.
Stop. I was going to tell you, my favorite spring game when I was playing was in 2004 because we came here and sat in this room
I love it.
after the game with the whole crew and had
awesome.
wings. I remember that too.
That was a hot day.
It was a nice day.
Yeah, it was good.
I think Bam had three TDs that day.
It's good. It's good. I mean, you can come here in between and then go over to the concert.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Pre-game.
Come here, pre-game a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, get
Get a little bread in you.
Yeah. Or
I
chicken.
like that.
Never about it.
It's actually
breading.
protein. Protein's better for you.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Well,
You know these things when you work.
She's the expert. Take the advice.
You just eat.
We're going to let you get out of here.
Thanks.
Go about your day. We'll be replacing you, as I said, with Bill Landis as we come back on this episode of the live show at the Horseshoe Lounge. It's a fun, casual conversation, and Roosters is a fun, casual joint. We'll be right back.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They will always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
And we're back. Bill Landis has joined us in the spot of Nicole Cox. That's still Justin Zwick and Bobby Carpenter. And we're talking about the spring game and wondering, guys, how important is it? Because normally a spring game, like, you see them doing like weird stuff for play callers, right? Like
Weird stuff.
Picking like offensive players to play calls or, as you mentioned, former alums. This spring is actually kind of an important spring for Brian Hartline and his play calling chops and learning how to call plays, and how the spring game, like the playbook is going to be limited. It's going to be cut down, but is it still important for him to figure out the mechanics of this system on Saturday?
I'd say so. I mean, it's a process of calling a play with a game clock in mind. Mm-hmm. You have to decide beforehand, I'm calling this play. It's 1st and 10. If we get the desired outcome of what we think it can be, what's the next play after that? If we don't, maybe we get a yard or maybe we get a sack. You have to have those ideas in your mind of what you can run. So whether or not you have a menu of plays that looks like Roosters where they have everything under the sun, or it's simply just
the old Tecmo Bowl 4 plays.
Or In-N-Out Burger, and here's your like 3 things, and this is what it is. That's important, I think, because it's not like in practice where, they have a play clock, but when you have an offensive head coach, the play clock it's never real. Mm-hmm. So it's important for him to kind of work through this, and so it's not gonna. He's probably gotten just as much work in practice when they start doing. They've done, we'll start in 2nd and 7, and or 2nd and 8. And then call through 3rd down.
From
so,
there,
so it's either, hey, maybe I got a sack, maybe we got 3 yards, maybe we picked up a first down.
It could be 3rd and 8 or it could be 3rd and 1.
And so you're working through that. And that's all the stuff of scenarios, timing. And maybe Ryan, and this is the thing, we're going to do an end of quarter scenario. And
2-minute drill.
Here's what we need to do. Here's how much time. Either we're burning clock, we're trying to pick up yards, you have 1 timeout, whatever it is. And those things are important for any play caller to kind of get some reps at.
You guys came from a different era where coaching continuity was a lot different than it is now. How many different offensive play callers did you have in your time at Ohio State?
One.
If you would have been forced to switch in the middle of a season or from one season to the next, how different or how much more difficult do you think that could have been?
You mean offensive coordinator?
Just play caller or coordinator, I guess. But, I mean, in this specific instance, I'm talking play caller. Would it have made a difference?
Yes.
Would have
been better?
Ron Burgundy?
Would have been better?
I mean, if we're going to run a different offense, is it a different? Is it a different?
You mean you didn't like Dave left, Dave right?
Not when it was 3rd and 10 every time.
Hey, those 7 yards you add that to the punt.
Yeah, exactly.
It's part of your punt net.
I guess that's just I imagine going year in and year out to having different coordinator or a different play caller would be very hard.
Yeah.
We did not have that. I was with Trust the whole time, and he was very much the same type of play caller, the entire time I was there. So I can't tell you if it'd be easier or harder.
He was a genius.
I think it'd be difficult if you were, because none of these guys. Kyle has started, I guess, 1 game, but they're not used to Ryan Day calling the plays in a game, so maybe it's easier for Kevin.
Yeah, I think if CJ was back or something like that, you'd have a different dynamic.
Yeah.
But In-N-Out versus Whataburger.
Mm.
I've never had Whataburger. In-N-Out, so now I'm wondering, as someone, you lived in Dallas, you were a Texan for a while, are you particularly fond of Whataburger?
I like Whataburger. It's got a lot of variety. You can get a lot of different things at Whataburger. Yeah. It's kind of like the Roosters.
Like a really dry patty or a super dry patty?
I didn't say it was the tastiest.
Dry to super dry, huh?
I said it had a lot of options as far as what you can order. So yes.
I think In-N-Out's, is it in or out? Or outer in?
Outer in is the bar.
Outer in is the bar.
Here, yeah.
Well, regardless, I think the food one.
If the outer in had
maybe a little.
Now you're talking.
Maybe a little overrated.
I like In-N-Out.
Maybe a little overrated.
It's okay.
When you're on the West Coast, I'll go get one, but it's okay. Is it the best burger I've ever had?
No. I don't think so. I
don't think so.
You're on notice, In-N-Out. Do you think that they should change the spring game formats around the country so that teams can play against other teams?
Who mentioned that the other day?
Ooh.
Hugh Freeze said they want to play UAB and Bama can play like Troy. Make A-Day all the teams in Alabama playing each other.
No, I guess that would be beneficial to the 2s and 3s for Alabama because no one really plays their established starters anymore.
Yeah.
So I understand. You used to at least play them for a couple series. Now it's what are we doing out here? You're not playing them. So I get it. I think that there could be some value to that. rotating around. You get some revenue, you get some exposure for some of those guys. You play it in the big State U Stadium, so it's cool for them.
Man, as a player, you know what it was like. I mean, you hated. By the end of the spring ball, you're like, God, I'm just tired of hitting the same
guy.
I imagine. I didn't do it, but these guys, I'm tired of hitting the same dudes over and over again.
It's just the
you want
same
to go hit
thing.
somebody else. That's why the game was always nice, because we're finally going against somebody else, and that brings in another level of excitement.
What's the argument against it? I mean,
injuries.
But you have 5 months to get healthy.
I think
if you have a torn ACL, you're done. I mean,
but if you're going to tear an ACL, you're going to tear an ACL.
That stuff.
I've made that argument with people before as well.
Bob, were they doing the joint practice stuff when you were in the league? Was that?
Yeah, they've done the joint practice for a long time.
But you guys as pros know how to protect the quarterback. I think that's a concern of college coaches.
You can still
too.
play that.
Is Miami, Ohio going to come in and not hit Kyle McCord? I don't know.
I mean, you could still set up the rules to have no tackling of the quarterback if you want.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you'd like to think guys would abide by that, and they're smart enough to get away.
They could be publicly executed.
That's definitely the way to go. I'm a big fan of capital punishment. I think that'd be perfect. Drag him out there.
Wouldn't it be nice to
the old bell tower? Put him up top.
Ooh, just let it be known.
Kind of like Mexico City, back to
don't hit our quarterbacks. Yeah,
put a sandwich board on him. Put him out in front of Ohio Stadium. Say, I hit Kyle McCord, and I deserve to be scorned.
What is this? Die Hard with a Vengeance?
Whatever you want to call it, I'm into it.
I'm in.
I just think that there has to be some way that these things can be created or played in a way that are more valuable for players on these rosters, but also more entertaining for people who are going to see it, right?
And for covering, to write the stories.
And for coverage. So you get a much better sense. If Ohio State was playing Toledo in a spring game, isn't that a better experience for everyone?
Yeah, but you don't get to control it probably as much as a head coach. And the teams that you do joint practices with, the coaches have good relationships. Mm-hmm. So you'd have to make sure that there's an understanding of the people you're working with, it's a like-minded approach to how we're
those are professionals, and nobody would ever swing a helmet at someone in a practice like that, right, Aaron Donald?
We had a joint practice. People talk like that's foreign. I watched Flozo Adams do that to Jarvis Moss. He ripped it off and hit him in the head with it. Didn't try to hit him in the head. Literally over the top, boom, and that ended the spring practice, or the joint practice for that day. But so that stuff always happens. It wouldn't happen in this. But I do think it would be more entertaining. I'm glad the spring games aren't 3.5 hour marathons anymore.
They used to be, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when I was doing the sideline stuff with BTN, it was great. It's like, boom, we're in and out. Can we be out in less than 2 hours? That was the goal. And so I like that. Give us a good 2 quarters and then halftime escapades and then running clock.
You don't have to play a full game. If you did Ohio State versus Toledo for 2 quarters, full on, and then you had kicking competitions and 7-on-7
races,
stuff, potato sack races.
On the goal line, here we go. Who's the fastest?
Races,
goal line drills, 7-on-7 stuff. I mean, you could find a way to make it.
You could basically just make it a practice. Say, all right, you're going to come down. We're going to do all this stuff. Go through our individual, do whatever you got to do, and then break, and we'll come back and go 1s versus 1s, 2s versus 2s. I mean, it could
be a recruiting exhibition for both teams. You bring in players from all over. You
can recruit off each other's rosters.
You can recruit.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can talk to kids that maybe you want to pull up.
In the world we're living in right now,
you played really good today, son. You want to come play for
Ohio State? Can be like, we actually like this defensive tackle.
We're just going to keep him here.
We would like to extend him an opportunity to play here. We will trade you.
Yeah, don't get back on that bus, kid.
Trade you.
We are willing to give.
We wanted him, but we got you.
Yeah. We have a 6th receiver here that you guys like. You're probably not going to get many reps, so there you go. Go catch 90 balls. Be like, what's his name at OU last year?
Wiggles. Wiggles. Yeah.
Sam Wiggles. It's all Mac. He got 105 balls.
Best player in the conference. And Brian Hartline. He's going to be drafted after this next season, for sure.
Mr. Wiggles.
I mean, he's a heck of a player. As you look at the spring game, Bill, what are you from you're a keen, professional-minded person. You have.
Weren't we talking about any of the recruiting guys that committed? I mean, I feel like that's big. We've got you,
especially with you at the helm.
Bill and I talked about recruiting for 45 minutes on the morning's podcast daily. So I'm gonna try not to oversaturate the conversation.
Oh.
That's Spanish for conversation. Is it?
Is it?
Maybe.
I don't know. Yeah. So from your sharp, objective, keen. Analytical mind, Bill. What are you looking for to say this was I asked Nicole this question, but the quarterback position is the one that everyone is going to watch the closest, right? Uh-huh. What makes this week a success for Kyle McCord or Devin Brown?
I think you want to come out of that game feeling like both guys can start for them, regardless of the decision that Ryan Day ultimately makes. And I don't think he's going to make one after the spring, but I was like trying to refresh my memory as you guys were doing the first half of the show, just like going back through the 2018 spring game with Dwayne and Joe. Those guys were both really good in that game. And I remember afterwards, when I was at Cleveland.com, we were like kind of breaking things down and thinking to myself, like, man, like leading up to it, it was like you all kind of thought that Dwayne was eventually going to be the starter. But watching Joe play in that game, it was like I got like a little sad that like he wasn't going to play at Ohio State because you figured he was going to transfer. And I think like you want to come out of this game with a similar feeling, like they can only pick one of these guys, and not to say that the
Highlander
transfer Highlander, you can only choose. They're going to be one, yeah. But
the other guy gets his head cut off.
That's right. I think you want to see both the guys put on the show.
Bell Tower.
And it's going to be like a passing display. Like they have 2 running backs, they have like 4 offensive linemen. They're not going to run the ball a lot. But if both those guys can put on a bit of an aerial display, I think everyone can come away feeling pretty good about that.
Is there another position on Saturday that you specifically are really looking forward to seeing how it translates from what we've watched through now today's?
Can I say right tackle?
You can. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't, but you can.
Is that something you want to watch on Saturday? Because it's not going to go so well.
I mean a position that you're looking at and saying, hey, I have a belief that this dude is going to be a dude, and I want to see
I don't know if they're going to play many of the dudes that are going to be dudes. Like, I'd like to see your boy Cam Martinez.
See, I want to see Jair Brown be the dude out there on Saturday because he's going to get a lot of reps.
You're right. And Jair, like, he's played pretty well this spring. You're probably right in saying that. I mean, do they play David Igmeduson much? I'm like, I don't know. Like, but they probably play Jair. I bet he gets a lot of reps. Seeing him play, oh, goodness. Maybe C.J. Hicks.
Yeah, C.J. I think is like one of those guys.
Right?
They have 4 scholarship linebackers.
It's kind of risky though.
Yeah, he's going to play.
That's what I'm saying.
C.J. is sort of risky because, as you guys said, like thankfully there's not going to be probably a lot of blitzing. But if you let C.J. just go and C.J. go blitz the quarterback, I could see maybe just
hitting him.
David Perkins hitting someone. You know what I mean?
Is Brutus playing quarterback?
I mean, it might be by the time we get to the third quarter.
Brutus is live.
He's got extra padding at least.
I mean,
not that much.
I think Jair Brown is one guy that is going to play a lot. I'm actually very interested to see Ryan Turner because I'm looking at the cornerback depth with Jermaine Matthews, and now you add Igbenogson, who probably will not play much. I don't expect we'll see much of Burke, Hancock, or Igbenogson. But if you look at Ryan Turner and Jair Brown and Jermaine Matthews, you're getting Calvin Simpson-Hunt in here in the summer. And then you're starting to already project ahead. Like, this is an important opportunity for those guys to show they belong. And regardless of the fact that, you're not going to have Emeka Ibuka or Julian Fleming or Xavier Johnson or Marvin Harrison out there, you're still going to be playing against Carnell Tate and Noah Rogers and some really good wide receivers. So that's going to be a matchup where you're going to actually see, I mean, again, some of this is contingent on the quarterback having time to actually throw the football, but you should be able to see mano-a-mano on the outside, some real good football.
Yeah, I would say that. I like that. And then, looking inside, maybe seeing Kai Stokes out there a little bit. I like, potentially him at safety.
Well, he blew up last year in the spring.
Yeah, he played really well, him and Sonny. I don't know how much they'll play Sonny as well. I mean, he's a young guy. Like,
he needs the reps.
He needs reps. For sure. Like, he came in last year, not early. He came in during camp, but a whole year early, but he needs reps to play. And that's not a knock on him. It's just experience is the best teacher. So I'm curious how much he'll play. And how
I think a guy like Sonny has to play like a lot on Saturday. Don't you? Like, you're looking.
You would think so. I mean,
coaches
a young
are
guy
desperate
like that
to find a role for him, right?
That's all you hear is you got to have him on the field.
But as Bob said, like he just turned 18 4 months ago, so he's played one season at Ohio State, but it's not like he has enough football where you can say, well, let him rest. We know what he can do. Like,
we'll plug him in next year. Don't worry about it.
Is there another guy like that, Bill, where you're like, I don't care. This guy just has to play a lot on Saturday?
I mean, there are probably a lot. Like, guys that I'm just, like, curious to see what they would do if you put them out on the field for extended period of time, like Hero Canoe.
I was thinking Hero Canoe.
It's a mind meld.
Then a Hero comes along?
You're going to get a Tyleek, or you're going to get a Mike, and he can make projections about Tyleek, I guess, and Ty Hamilton. But aside from those three, I don't know what to make a defensive tackle.
Like Jaden McKenzie?
Whether or not they think they need to go get one out of the portal. Like, can Jaden McKenzie or Hero Canoe make you feel better about their ability to kind of get by with what they have? Or I guess the inverse of that, make you feel worse about what's on hand at the moment and make that need feel a little bit more urgent. But I don't know. Maybe it's not a great game to showcase defensive tackle play, but Hero's a guy that I've kind of been interested in watching all spring because if he can emerge, I mean, 6'5", 315.
Yeah.
He's different. It's a big cat at tackle, so I don't know. I don't know how he's coming along because we don't get to talk to him. And Larry's not really mentioned him much, but I'd like to see him play like.
Have you asked Larry about him?
Not personally, not recently.
Okay.
Yeah, he was asked early in the spring, and all he talked about was Heroes lost some weight. That's where he was. He was he came in 330 maybe, and now he's 315.
It's just one of those positions
celebrating new weight loss
where you really wish Ohio State had more guys ready to go at defensive tackle for this type of situation. Did you get to meet Caden McDonald last week when he was here?
He's the
defensive tackle from Atlanta.
Okay, so I did a little research on him. Do you know where his family originally hails from?
Not particularly.
I think his grandfather's from Georgia or from Columbus, I believe.
Well, probably. That's how you win these battles.
Well, that's what he started talking about. I didn't exactly ask where he went, but he talked about playing against my dad. Maybe it was his dad. Might try to be his grandfather. Playing against my dad in high school.
It's got to be
back in 70 or 73 down at Lancaster and going to watch Miami, Ohio and stuff. He knew all this stuff because I didn't realize he went to the same.
Jordan Hancock.
Yeah, Jordan introduced me.
Right.
So Jordan introduced me to his father or grandfather. I think it was his grandfather. He's my dad's age. My dad's 68. So
probably his grandfather.
Yeah, I'm guessing his grandfather.
Since he's 17.
Yes. I mean, it hurts me to think that someone my dad's age, as I'm talking to him, that I would be because in this scenario, I'm old enough to be his father then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I don't like that scenario.
Maybe his grandfather.
I don't know if I'm
never not.
I don't think that might
you might be stretching a little bit, but
pushing just a tad.
Maybe.
College was,
but that's what Jordan introduced. He's this is Mr. Bobby. I'm like, thank you for not calling me coach, but he's like, oh yeah. And then he started talking and he brought all this stuff up. I'm like, well, it's good. I've heard you're going to need to play. So he was getting some workouts in, looking good. But he's a big dude.
Yeah, he's a little different. I mean, he looked a little taller than I anticipated, honestly, because there's been a lot of discussion that Georgia didn't offer him because they thought he was too short to play defensive tackle at Georgia, which is weird.
What's his name's not that big.
I'm just saying, I don't know how Georgia didn't offer that kid because he looked to me to be almost 6'4".
Yeah.
And
he's my height.
If that's the case, at 310, 315, he's extremely quick.
He's really broad, so I think it makes him look shorter.
Yeah.
He's
like Daniel Atkins, man, except a little taller.
He's got a super big face too, super large head, like Cardale style. Maybe even but he's broad. He's a strong, big.
I'm telling you, that kid's going to be hard to keep off field.
He is a thick dude.
I know people are often reluctant to be excited about the closer you are to football, the longer it takes to play. But defensive tackle, especially if you're not being put out there every play and you're only out there to go get the quarterback, I think you can make a case for that.
So you're that high on this guy?
Yeah, he's different. Different than Ohio State has on the roster.
Okay, good. I mean,
he's
you hyped him up, and I go, this must be the guy Berm's talking about.
Must be the guy.
Because Berm has a Rolodex of high school dudes. I can't keep him straight. And so he's talking to him oh, you're the guy. And he was working out, and he's like, oh, I'm from Georgia. I'm like, this has to be
Start
him.
putting it all together.
Yeah.
They're going to need those guys. But you wish they were there now for this weekend because there's just...
He was here now. He just wasn't practicing.
You know what I mean. Yikes. Final.
You wish he was here. I mean, I met him.
Most important thing...
I'm excited to watch our left tackle. And I know
Josh Fryer.
I know there's
big start for him.
I know there's not much else to go to there, but I just want to see how he handles himself because we have guys on the edge that can bring it a little bit. I know he's been battling, those guys getting those live reps, in
I
practice.
hope Ohio State moves JT Tuimoloau out to that side and lets those two go.
In practice, they flip him over. I mean, you see it.
However it works, he's going against somebody good, and I'm excited to see how he handles himself, how he holds up.
Dude on dude accountability.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part. If we could say, hey, we feel good about him, all right, now we just focus on the other side and worry about that. But I want to know that backside is, for the most part, protected and taken care of. So I'm excited to see how he plays.
Most important thing on Saturday.
I've given you a lot of things.
I want the most paramount.
Penultimate?
No, that means second to last.
Well, I mean, quarterback's always number one.
Sure.
So
maybe they should just have a battle in the blocko in the middle of the field for the starting.
Do you think that they'll let those two do the Oklahoma drill together?
Gosh,
for the game?
That's the dumbest.
That'd be awesome. That would be fantastic. I'm going to go with the right tackle spot. I mean, I want to see some progress and growth there. I'm begging for some.
Bill,
it'll be hard to judge because of what Bob just alluded to, but I would like to get a feel or more of a feel for how real this emerges with Kenyatta Jackson is. And
you have 10 sacks on Saturday.
Yeah, but to Jay-Z's point, put him out there against Fryer, who's their best tackle, and see what he does. If he's running past Zen and Tegra and Grant Toutant, I think that means a little bit less, but if he's doing it against Joshua, I think it's a pretty good player. That means a little more to me. And I think this defense has a lot of really good pieces, but it could benefit from like a pure kind of speed edge guy like Kenyatta could be.
To me, the most important thing is that Ohio State fans show up and support.
Do you think they won't? Is there
Buckeyes.
a fear of that?
No, they will.
They seem to be like pumping it up
They
a little
will,
bit. Like,
but
hey, make sure you come
I
out.
think that people need to understand that this fan base has been a little bit on edge recently. I'm not sure if anyone's aware of that. There seems to be some unhappiness.
Tell us about that.
Creeping in. And I get it, but it's a new year. The season is coming faster than you can possibly imagine.
Be here before we know it.
75 degrees, sunny, beer, football.
Concert that night.
Concert that night. Tons of recruits from around the country coming in that
Lots of dudes.
that really could be
You're going to be at the family picnic?
impressed by the atmosphere and the fan support. Like if you want as a fan to help Ohio State football, but you don't want to give money to NIL causes, the best way you do that is by just showing up and being super loud, even at a game that doesn't matter. Right? That to me is the most important thing. Show up.
Show up,
out.
be there.
I like that.
Go Bucks.
Any other thoughts from you guys before we?
I'm really excited about the post-game barbecue. That's good.
We don't get that.
I know you don't. You don't
might get a hot
deserve
dog.
it. You don't deserve it because you're not a player.
Yeah.
But
True.
Get some of that.
I'm not a player. I just crush a lot.
That's what I've heard. You and Fat Joe.
Yeah.
You're
Fat
pretty-
Jeremy, Fat Joe.
I like that. But they, it's one of the great things. I think Urban started it maybe at the end, or maybe Ryan.
Was Ryan the first?
I can't remember when this started, but they have the players and their families go back, which they've always done. They've upped the food and the quality and a lot of things, but then they started bringing the former players, and as long as you're not showing up with like a cavalcade of people, like, hey, you want to bring like your kids and stuff, and it's cool because I get to talk to the stuff that you do. You know, when you scour these dudes out in the high school parking lots, and then they take you home and you get to meet their parents, and it's a real date at that point. Then
That's when you know it's real.
It is, but I get to talk to these kids' parents, and so like talking to JT's parents the first time, it's like, man, you've got a great son. And they like hearing it, but it's impressive what you've been able to do and the type of human being you've been able to raise. And plus, I'll bring my boys around and they'll run through and go get autographs from all the guys, like the 8 cams they had on the team last year, and they went around.
Just
like,
one football with just cams.
I mean, it's like,
Cam
I thought he
exclusive.
was Cam. I'm like, he is, but so is he.
Yeah, but so
He's
is he.
Cam with a K.
Fan cam.
Yeah. There's just cams all over the place. So it was good. And that's I'm always the most excited about that, just because it's a great way to connect like generationally these players, and they see your kids, and it's a really, really well done by the football department.
And then you get to go watch North to Nashville,
Which is going to be awesome.
It's going to be great.
If you were looking for something to do on
I've been
Saturday
that
night,
hung- I won't be-
$100 to get in.
It'll probably been since college since I've been that hungover after a spring game.
Is that what it? Yeah, and then we got the 4 miler on Sunday.
Oh, that's right. I knew there was something really bad about that.
There's something coming around the corner there, buddy. I might sleep at the Woody.
$100 to get in. You get to party inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Coaches will be there. North to Nashville, awesome band.
Former players like Bob and I.
It's a good week in Columbus, and weather's beautiful. Roosters, fun, casual conversation. Mini corn dogs.
They will not have many corn dogs there,
$3
but
on
they will
Tuesday.
tomorrow here at Roosters.
So
$3 all day long.
If you're looking for a reason to be happy, this week in Columbus,
The weather's going to be great.
Sun's shining, spring games
Weather
around the
is here.
corner.
I
Hey.
wish you were beautiful.
Let's go. Sure.
Bill Landis, Justin. That's a Jimmy Buffett song.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's.
I mean,
lost
the weather
on me.
outside makes me feel Buffetian.
Buffety.
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 Justin Zwick,
Buff.
Bobby Carpenter, Nicole Cox was with us earlier. I'm Jeremy Birmingham. This has been the live show from Roosters on Olentangy River Road. Fun, casual conversation. Thanks for having us. Thanks for watching us. We'll see you next time.